Yo, what's up my bros? Just wanna let everyone here know that I make daily recaps, so subscribe now to become a bro today. And by the way, sorry for posting this video a little bit later than usual. I wanted to make it shorter, to post it earlier, because I was a little bit busy today, but we would end on a crazy cliffhanger. Anyway, let's go to the video. You'll see what I mean after watching the video. Enjoy! Now we go back to learn more about Lucy when she was younger, as she remembers that when she was still a young girl, she realized that she saw this world differently from other people. That only she truly saw the world as black and white, basically meaning she had the power to control minds and sense good and evil inside of other people. But when other people learned of this ability she has, they didn't believe her and would ridicule her, saying that she is too young to even know the meaning of words good and evil, let alone see if someone is actually good or evil. People thought she was weird because she would claim she has such a power, so they just chose to stay away from her. But not all people. We can see a mystery man approaching young Lucy and praise her talent, saying how such a power would benefit the secret instrument tower greatly, and how their family position would be more secure if she was recruited by the secret instrument tower. So we learn now that this man is her family member, probably her father, who also tells her how she possesses a harpy blood and tells her that it's natural for eagles to push their youngs out of the nest when they grow to a certain age, which is what he did to Lucy as well, metaphorically, saying how those eagles who are useless would just fall and die. As he told Lucy that's why she needs to be useful, or else the same fate would await her. Since she was still just a child, these words made her scared and caused her to cry, causing a long-lasting trauma in her. Her father then told her that he'll find someone to recruit her to the secret instrument tower and order her to stay away from him for the rest of their lives. And from that moment, Lucy has joined the secret instrument tower. She joined the logistics department because her talent suited it the best, and was sent and successfully completed many dangerous missions, which also gradually increased her rank in the organization. But no one ever complimented her because of her achievements. But just like when she was younger, they would all stay away from her because of her abilities. So she realized no one ever cared for her personally, and they're just using her because of her talents. She also thought how no one will ever care for her in this life, so she didn't understand the purpose of her life then. She then remembers the moment she received the mission to go investigate Mr. Lin's bookstore and would receive orders through a TV screen, but that's normal to her because they would always give her orders this way so she can sense whether they are good or evil, and so that she doesn't try to mind control them. But Lucy got used to it, and her only goal was to always just complete the job successfully and everything would be fine. Man, I feel really sorry for this girl. Just imagine, out of all of the customers Mr. Lin got so far, he decided to pick on her because whatever his reasons were. But come on, Mr. Lin, fix this situation, please. Now back to the story. We see Lucy's preparations for the mission to investigate the bookstore. She knew that it was class I for indescribable because it had an indescribable mutant in it, so she had to prepare thoroughly for it. So after spending a lot of time studying all the reports on this bookstore, from Joseph but from other people they've had reports on as well, she found some logic behind the indescribable level mutant who resides in the bookstore. And the logic being that this bookstore owner is an entity that completely acts like a regular bookstore owner would, with intents of selling or lending books, and that if you don't approach him in a negative way, he will stay calm and not act. The reason for this conclusion is that Joseph got incapacitated, probably because he usually comes off as arrogant. Second thing about this bookstore owner entity is that it's close to, if not completely, both to omniscient and omnipotent level, and this conclusion was made because of the conversation between Andrew and Doris, so it would be for the best not to hide your thoughts as well after approaching the bookstore owner. And the last thing is the books themselves, which are written in an ancient language and possess unbelievable powers, but only if they are carefully selected by the bookstore owner and given to his customers. And they are considered as gifts because their price is nothing compared to the power they provide. Thus Lucy thinks that he asks for money for these books only because he is just role-playing and doing all of this for fun. And she also thinks there's this famous line now that he says which after he says it, you're completely under his control. Now we go back to Mr. Lin saying this line to Lucy as well now, and the line being, sit down and read some books. Bros, this gave me goosebumps when I read it for the first time, and even now when I'm saying it again, I'm getting goosebumps again. Mr. Lin is just running a regular bookstore in Ohio now, it seems. Now back to the story. After Lucy heard this sentence, she got both a bit surprised and excited, since there's not a lot of information about these books, but this is her chance to investigate them as well. But she also has a weird feeling how everything has suddenly become so surreal, and it feels like she's living in an illusion right now, while her soul is being extracted from her body by some unknown higher entity. She then accidentally utters something saying if she can take a look at these books, and then gets scared because she didn't want to say anything, and Mr. Lin might have gotten angry because of this now. However, just the opposite happened, because in his mind, Mr. Lin thinks how only with a couple of sentences, he turned a researcher into a regular customer, thinking to himself how awesome he is for accomplishing this. He thinks she wants to choose a book herself instead of getting recommended one, because she likes reading in general, and Mr. Lin thinks both is good for his business because he makes money either way. But as Mr. Lin is thinking all of this, we can see something happen which never happened before. His shadow actually starts moving away from him, and we learn that this shadow is Inky. He swooshes away over the bookshelves as if it's searching for something. Mr. Lin then tells Lucy how there's no need to rush, she can slowly browse books while chatting with him. Lucy then thinks how Mr. Lin is so friendly and kind, and thinks how she finally understands why Joseph wants to give him the cursed sword Candela, and she decides she will finish her evaluation as soon as she picks a book. As she gets up to browse books, Mr. Lin tells her that there are more books in the back because it's more spacious, and this completely scares her because she realizes that no one ever mentioned this kind of space in the bookstore before, meaning she's the first one to get offered this from Mr. Lin. She doesn't understand why he's doing this, but thinks how she has no choice now and has to follow his orders as she steps into the area in the back. After going in, we can see this space expanding almost to infinity, how huge it is, which Lucy realizes as well, thinking there's no bigger library in the world, and how it must use some huge warping magic since it's way bigger on the inside than on the outside. As she's walking through the library, she thinks that all the books and knowledge of the world must be at Mr. Lin's disposal. She realizes that her sanity is slipping away as she's trying to analyze this, so she decides to quickly pick a non-dangerous looking book and leave this place ASAP. She was scared this whole time, but after looking at the names of these books, her fear increases even more because she thinks how even just reading the titles is making her so tired. So maybe it would be better to ask Mr. Lin for a recommendation, and just then she notices a row of the same books called Soul Gazing. She thinks that maybe she should pick this book because its name sounds the best for her kind of job, because her job is to understand the people's souls and evaluate if they are good or evil. But wait, she thinks, it's like something is whispering to her to pick this book, as if she has no other choice, and she gets even more frightened now. We see Inky's eye and mouth appear behind her, ominously laughing, but she doesn't see it. As soon as she touched the book, she got teleported to another dimension, standing on water on a dark night while a huge red moon is lighting up everything. She gets petrified because she doesn't understand what just happened, and as she tries to speak, she realizes that she can't. She sees lost souls all around her trying to reach her. Her eyeglasses crack as the blood starts pouring out of her eyes. She turns around and looks behind her while her body is leaking blood everywhere. She sees two shadowy figures of a man and an ox. Shadow tendrils wrap around her, squeezing her even more and causing even more blood to gush out of her, and a piercing shadow runs through her eye. She can see a demonic figure controlling her every movement, and as she screams in fear and pain, she falls down on the floor of the library, realizing she teleported back. She looks at this book again, seeing souls trying to leave it, and she starts sweating how scared she is. As small tentacles grow out of her eyes, she recollects her thoughts for a moment, thinking how she needs to leave this place immediately and find and talk to the bookstore owner. As we see Inky's shadow flying over bookshelves and highlighting two books, Soul Gazing and To Live. Bros, I wanted to make a shorter video today because I was a little bit busy and to end this one here, but this is the cliffhanger I mentioned and there's no way I could end on this cliffhanger. So let's go back to the story. Now we see Mr. Lin being satisfied with how he's done business with this new customer and just casually sipping tea as we see Lucy all tired and sweaty come back and ask if she can borrow this one book. Mr. Lin sees the book and realizes that this book is really difficult and will not help her relax at all, and after looking at her, he sees that she looks even more tired now after trying to find the book than she was when she first entered the bookstore. He asks her if she's alright, to which she responds that she is, but that those souls did make her feel a bit uneasy. Mr. Lin, of course, misunderstands this, thinking she's referring to the characters in the book as souls, and that's how deep she dived into this book, he thinks. He then tells her that they should chat a bit to relax and thinks about how either she is highly empathetic or maybe she sees herself in some of the plot points in the book. Maybe she's both, Mr. Lin thinks, and figures it would be for the best if he gave her some after-sales service in the form of advice. Thinking how soul healing his customers will make them regular and they will come back for more books. He tells her that it's normal to get shaken after reading the book for the first time, this book, but over time she'll learn so much from it. Lucy understands this as Mr. Lin's approval of her choice of the book and thinks how she's probably too weak, since for someone like her, it's normal to be shaken by this kind of a book. She tells Mr. Lin how he's right and it's still difficult for her to understand the reality in this book, and Mr. Lin responds how this is fine and normal since empathy is a part of human nature, as he dramatically spins around saying that life is tough and all lives are the same. So how are others different from us? Saying that the universe is a cruel void and it has always been like that. But not everything is bad, since we are living surrounded by humans with emotions, and Lucy thinks how these emotions Mr. Lin is talking about are much higher than actual emotions ordinary people would possess. Thinking that these emotions Mr. Lin has have elevated him to the height of a deity, and how there is a reason he is an indescribable level, so much so that even elves of the honorable Iris family are his mere servants. And all of this is not just because he is all-powerful, but also because he possesses an unending compassion and empathy towards everyone around him. She remembers how indescribables are usually selfish because of the power they possess, and they carry this title because it's hard to understand how powerful they are, and how this bookstore owner's power is definitely that. She then asks Mr. Lin, "Is this why you are doing all of this?" And he gets a little bit confused, not understanding what she initially means, but of course he figures it out, thinking how she means helping his customers, and answers by saying that if he understands his customers' troubles, he feels as if he needs to save them from their suffering, and then thinks to himself how this is also good for his wallet too, but that it was always in his nature to help people around him if he can. He then tells Lucy that she shouldn't look at what he's doing as something selfless, because anyone who has the heart would do the same. These words intrigue Lucy because she thinks that maybe he's implying she could do the same as well. Maybe he wants me to help him from within the secret instrument tower, Lucy thinks, and change this situation in Knockin as well. She thinks this must be it, and how this is why he intimidated her at first, but then treated her as a customer and even allowed her to glance at his infinite wisdom. She thinks about how she needs to decide now whether to stand on the side of Mr. Lin or not, and how this wakes up some unpleasant memories in her, remembering when her father forced her to join the secret instrument tower. She asks Mr. Lin if he thinks she's really suitable for this. Mr. Lin smiles as he thinks that his soul healing session is going smoothly. But it's a problem because she's asking if she can, not how she can, which means she still doubts herself and wants other people to approve of her. So he needs to choose suitable words to answer, and he tells her that this isn't about if she's suitable or not, but about how she thinks of herself, asking her did she ever think about what is causing all of this self-doubt within her. She gets completely surprised at this while Mr. Lin continues speaking, saying that the biggest problem is her job because she faces human suffering more than regular people, and how facing these hardships causes you to feel pity for those people, but how compassion can help others, but not yourself. So the stronger she gets in this way, the harder it will hit her as well, and that this is the reason she doubts her performance now and is troubled by her job as well. She thinks how Mr. Lin has completely seen through her, thinking about how her talent helped her complete many missions, but is also like a leash on her neck, slowing her down and making her life more difficult. Now Mr. Lin thinks how this girl got too involved in her job, thinking how her whole life revolves around it, and it's a common problem of corporate slaves. He then remembers Ackerman and how changing her workplace like Ackerman changed his will not help her. What will help her is for her to realize her self-worth. By the way, thank you Mr. Lin for actually going in the right direction and maybe really helping your customers, since Lucy really deserves it. He tells her how she needs to understand the deeper meaning of the book she picked out, describing how he once witnessed a revival of an ancient civilization and how its people had to endure great hardship and develop land, and they could never rest, and how this book is a small feather of that great civilization. He then continues, explaining how the most significant trait of this civilization was its tenacity, which was a part of every soul in it, and its courage and will to live. Mr. Lin tells Lucy this is exactly what she needs right now. She gets surprised and asks Mr. Lin if the souls in this book, and he interrupts her and tells her that yes, they were all real ones. This scares her a little bit because she thinks how powerful he is to be able to capture billions of souls into a single book, and how he even witnessed the development of the entire civilization. And as thoughts start racing through her mind, she stops and says that she shouldn't overthink as always. She then asks Mr. Lin if what he means is that she can fix her current situation if she reads and understands this book. Mr. Lin thinks that she is smart because she immediately understood him, and he tells her that she is right and how this book is a perfect fit for her right now, saying that if she understands it completely, it will help with all of the problems she is facing now. He tells her that she's been wrong her entire life, how the most important thing about her isn't her ability, but herself entirely. Lucy starts feeling unfamiliar happiness as she sees light coming all around Mr. Lin because of how much he helped her right now, and hears him saying that she should shed off everything outside of her soul and live your own life for yourself only, and how only this way her mind will return to peace. She then sees the man and the ox again as they are slowly vanishing, and after they are completely gone, she sees young Lucy sad in front of her and crying as she slowly approaches her and hugs her while still hearing Mr. Lin's words saying that when she faces her soul directly this way, only then she can say how she's given her best and feel proud of herself. As the young Lucy is crying, we see this illusion shatter with all the trauma Lucy had within her. She starts crying out of happiness, and Mr. Lin gets surprised, thinking how she's lacking in love so much, even these simple soul-healing words made her cry. She tells Mr. Lin how she's fine now and that this book is incredible for her, and thanks Mr. Lin for his guidance. Mr. Lin, relieved, asks her if she knows what she should do now, and she answers by saying she will understand the book to the best she can and utilize it completely, telling Mr. Lin that from now on, her entire being belongs to him. And the harem expands, bros. Mr. Lin is trying to understand what she means by this, but he can't. and just tells her to think hard about it, how it will change her life for the better. She leaves the bookstore and sends a message to the secret instrument tower, thinking how she gained even more power and how incredible the power of soul gazing feels. She thinks how she can understand even deeper secrets of people's souls now, thanks to Mr. Lin, and how it's an honor for her to be his eyes. She then remembers her father's words, how eagles are pushed off of a cliff and how weak die. But now she finally knows this is not truth, because no matter how strong or weak they are, as long as they are alive, the moment they spread their wings, they will be reborn. Oh my god, I almost started crying. I'm so happy for Lucy, guys. That's all for today's video, bros. If you want to find out what happens next, subscribe with notifications on. Thank you so much for watching. Next part is probably coming out on Sunday, but I'll probably be uploading 2 different mangas tomorrow. So please check them out. Stay awesome, bros, and peace.